And it's interesting, right? So, Gabe's team, Luxury X Gabe Nation, they are currently XO, and then Ben's team on the bottom, they're currently X1, and this is a result of us having 18 teams that entered into this event.
Yeah, it's one of those that sort of cream of the crop rising up. You know, they're well established, very very good players. So you expect them to perform in this kind of tournament. They're going to know each other well. They've got really good coaching ability between them, I assume, and that sort of shows in the results that we're seeing.
Yeah, and that's actually, you make a really good point there. These players are able to communicate with their teammates. So essentially they do have that coaching angle that is not normally available during competitive play. So for all we know, one of Gabe's team is carrying everyone through this by just telling them exactly what to play at any time, and the same could be said about Ben's team, but I'll be honest, I'd expect them to be competent enough on each side to take some actions.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you don't get this far, you don't get even X1 in this kind of it's sort of a weird event in that it's not necessarily individual performance, but for your team to perform across the entire event, even to get X1, is you're doing something right. You know, you're playing well, so that means you should be able to carry yourself regardless to the opponent, you would assume.
Yeah, and here we see the first indication of what Gabe has, which is the Kawaki Meru Guardian, and he follows it up with a Researcher, so I think it's pretty safe to say we've got Adamancipator on the top for this one.
Yeah.
But then from Ben's side, you look at it, he's only got 2 sets. It's not looking like he's in exactly the best position here, but he does have an Imperm to hit the Guardian. This is an interesting one.
Okay. See where this is going to go.
So while the Guardian isn't actively doing anything right there, it is potentially protecting Gabe from various hand traps that could be coming down on him. So that Imperm there does mean that if Ben has any hand traps, then they'll all be live soon.
A little part of me was expecting to see Multi-Faker.
That would have been really nice. The FTK there.
Play a mini Multi-Faker engine. Just for when you Imperm. Ooh.
Ghost Ogre. You know, I really like Ghost Ogre, actually.
I love Ghost Ogre, but we haven't seen much of it, have we, recently? And so I'm kind of took aback by that a little bit. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it doesn't feature in a lot of deck lists. It's certainly something that separates the list that Ben is playing from the majority of other lists of a similar nature. We will reveal the deck shortly, just as soon as Ben plays something that gives a strong indication of exactly what it is.
Yeah, still very much blind at this stage, especially for me. Like I say, don't look at these lists. I like to just see what comes up, and it's keeping me in suspense, at least.
I really, you know, you look at what Ben has, I really hope he hasn't just bricked here. I really hope that's not just like a set tuning or something like we saw before, but there's the Veiler.
All of the interrupts.
Not bad.
Saying that, though, this just is testament to how good Adamancipator is and how broken this whole deck is. The fact that he still has 3 cards in hand, 2 options on field, and he's played through, what now? This is the 3rd interrupt?
Yeah. But the thing is, the Imperm wasn't super impactful, was it? I mean, it just hit the Guardian.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the intention was to allow him to continue to respond, and he kind of had to do it now in hindsight. But even still, like your average deck, if you get hit with 3 interrupts, you'd be like, okay, I've run out of resources or I can't physically play. But it doesn't look like Gabe is in that position still. Maybe he won't have a strong Gabe line of play. And, you know, there is still 1 set card to consider and still a card in hand, but usually you'd expect not to be able to play at this point, and that's not what we're seeing.
But he does have Gigantis. That's pretty good. He can make the Gallant Granite get himself block dragon access if he needs to. I'd say unless Ben has... oh, there's another one. Unless Ben has something decent here, I'd expect him to scoop, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe. It's just, again, Adamancipator doing what Adamancipator does. Extender after extender after extender. It can just play through so much.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, 4 bodies on board for absolutely free, let's be honest. And, you know, the possibilities with this are endless, regardless of what your extra deck is. Like, you want rank 4 plays, you can go into it. You want link plays, you can go into it. You know, you've got options to so many different things here. You know, depending on whatever flavor of deck you want to play. This whole rock thing is insane.
Wow. And yeah, and he doesn't even have to go into complicated plays because he could just attack with all of his monsters and do a lot of damage.
You know what? At this stage, if it ain't broke, then you can try and fix it.
You know what? I really hope Gabe plays Cowboy and then he can somehow turn the Doki Doki and Guardian into another copy. And then we just see double Cowboy for game. But
is Cowboy not once per turn?
Maybe it is. But there's an Ash Blossom here anyway. And Ben dropping the uwu in the chat.
Does make me sad sometimes that the people watching can't see what's going on in the chat. Sometimes it's kind of got those funny moments.
Some funny moments that make it onto groups, and here we go into game 2 then. Yeah, so Ben just did not see Engine there. It was all Disrupt, and unfortunately for him, it wasn't even enough Disrupts.
I guess so. There's one good thing with all of this for Ben is that technically Gabe still doesn't know what he's playing. Like, he's not committed anything to the board. He just knows he's got interrupts.
Yeah, so all that Gabe has to think about is what deck can play all of Veiler, Imperm, Ash, and Ghost Ogre.
So, like, if I think through the sort of main decks that have this kind of high hand trap count, it's hard to know. There's so many different ones. I mean, in theory, they could be playing Sky Striker for all we know. You know? Yeah,
Sky Striker's a pretty popular one with having a high hand trap count.
Could be playing Trickstar. Imagine that. Trickstar X1.
You know, when I heard that there was the possibility of new Trickstar support, I was very psyched. And unfortunately, it didn't make it into the structure deck from the poll. That was won by Ice Barriers. I'm still a huge fan of Ice Barriers, so glad they're getting that support. But I would have loved, personally, I would have loved a Trickstar deck. I think I'm not a huge fan of the Trickstar artwork and the theme, but the way that the deck plays and combines
defending yourself ahead of accusations here, like
I've got to say the truth. Candina's 18, right? It's fine.
Wow. You hope.
She's got 1800 attack.
Good enough logic for me.
That's why people say that Ray is apparently 15, so you got to watch out for them. Okay. But anyway, the point I wanted to make was I really enjoyed the Trickstar Sky Striker formats and the way that the deck's played and how it was largely based on hand advantage. So if Trickstar came back with a deck that could give you a huge hand advantage type game, I would love playing in a format like that. I don't know what kind of format you prefer.
Yeah, do you know what? It's I guess I'll answer more the statements about Trickstar here. You know, for all of the kind of thrashing that it gets sometimes for people who hate the deck. I played it at Nationals last year. Around the time that Orcust was playing the small engine, it was quite nice because people assumed I was playing Orcust, so they'd hold a lot of their interrupts expecting something else, and I'd be able to basically go through all my Trickstar plays. But I was playing it with like Pleiades and stuff, and shout out to Aaron Hemman for letting me test with him, and the testing went really well, and then I did horribly and bricked every single game. But yeah, I mean, I guess Trickstar wouldn't be a bad reintroduction to the format. I don't think it's as powerful as it was, so I don't really see that it would do any harm, even if we saw a lot of the cards come back.
Yeah, I just think it would be nice. I think it would be good fun. Apart from all the people who, you know, do the masses of, what was it, reincarnation and that gift card and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that deck. Yeah, but no. We've finally seen what Ben's deck is. It is indeed Altergeist.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
So
the fact that they've got this far with Altergeist that's an interesting sign.
Yeah, definitely. So the entire team is playing Altergeist. I believe that I don't think they're card for card the same, but I think they're very close.
I mean, Altergeist has a pretty sort of standard lineup, doesn't it? There's not a lot of flex spots that you can work with. Like, the stuff that is, I guess, flexible, people tend to play the same stuff anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Yeah, I think there was a long period of time when it was just, oh, you play these 10 Altergeist monsters, you play these 4 traps, and then you play alongside them these 9 traps, and you just pick whatever hand traps are best in the format.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a pointer here, which could potentially hit any sort of back row or hand trap removal. But I tell you what, though, Ben's team, which is, by the way, called Fun and Interactive, that was a great team name. That was a good shout by them. It includes Lewis, who has been, he's certainly been on my channel, he's been on a few other channels as well, for having really great success with Altergeist with, let's say, more unique strategies, not using a typical trap lineup and trying to pilot some really cool other traps in the deck.
Okay.
So one of the interesting ones Lewis came onto the channel for a while back was he was playing one of the Subterra cards. I think it was Subterra Succession, which let you flip stuff and do some searching. And he played it alongside a really tiny Shadol engine.
That is strange.
Yes, yeah. It was really unusual for an Altergeist list, and it led to his opponents really struggling to predict what exactly was going on. And then he just stormed a bunch of regionals playing pretty much the same list with the Subterra cards in it.
I guess it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, if you can lead your opponent down a certain pathway of thinking how they have to play against you, it can really, like, if you're dictating the lines of play, it can really give you such an advantage. And I guess it's one of those things where sometimes it works out amazingly, and sometimes it goes horribly. In fact, 90% of the time it goes horribly wrong. But clearly that's an example of when it's done well, it can work out.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to have that extra little spark of creativity alongside actual competitive ability in order to make something like that pan out.
Sort of thing I expect to see from Mad Lad Vlad, who's not on the stream with us today, was last time. But he's always cooking something up, isn't he?
Oh, he's great. The FTKs that he's been able to assemble are kind of, like, ridiculous. I can't believe that Clock Dragon FTK that he put a lot of time and effort into building just to make, like, some decent YouTube content went on to win various events. Like, that was absurd.
It's testament, isn't it? Testament to that brain.
Yeah, definitely. And he's had great success at various events with his own FTKs as well. I think there was a YCS London a couple of years back when he took Gemini FTK and just, like, stormed it and made it into top cut, and it was just a really epic moment.
Yeah, certainly testament indeed. So, Altergeist here. I'm not really sure what kind of variants you would get in this. Like, for me personally, I have a bit of a barrier here, and it is a disadvantage in the fact that I really hate Altergeist, and so a lot of the time I just sort of switch off with it. Now, things have changed a little bit for me. I did do a video on how to play it, and I sat down with one of my friends, one of the tuggers, Adam, and he sort of taught me through it, and I kind of see it in a little bit of a different light. But the problem is I've still got that barrier of knowing what kind of other directions they could take. So it'll be interesting to see what we see here.
Just got a slight ruling issue. I'm just gonna drop out and come back to you in just a moment, but feel free to carry on.
Certainly.
You'll stay on the stream and everyone will be able to hear you. I'm just gonna be back in a moment.
So for some reason he's decided to leave you alone with me, which is pretty dangerous because when I'm talking to myself I can come out with some really inappropriate stuff. So I'll try and behave myself a little bit here whilst we wait for the other Joe to join us again. Hopefully you're enjoying the stream so far. If you don't know already, my name is Joe as well. I run a channel called YuGiOh, and I might as well plug myself here whilst I've got an opportunity to do so. You can go check out my absolutely terrible content over at YuGiOh YT. I'm across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that goodness. So this is a little bit different for me, being on a stream. This is my third one in a row for this, though, so I'm gradually getting used to it and learning how to fill a bit of the spots. So we are continuing to see the lines of play here. Halka Fibrax coming down. I suspect if we don't see an interrupt here, this could get pretty interesting pretty quickly. So Coitus is still an option. Oh wait, no, he has used the effect, my bad. Skipped over that there in my line of thoughts. So we're probably going to see the full combo here, I imagine. And usually once the full combo resolves, we normally see a victory. So depending on what's in hand for Ben, depends on how things are going to go very quickly here. So the pretty standard line of combo here ongoing.
Oh yeah, just coming back. So we've just got an interesting appeal going on, but thankfully our head judge is just stepping in to deal with that. So all good there. And yeah, I'm back. What did I miss?
Not much. Halka Fibrax combo. Let's go.
Let's go.
Pretty much it. The standard stuff.
And the Silk resolved, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I actually missed over it. A lapsing moment there where I was looking at something else, caught it off guard, and I was like, oh, he can use Silkoitis here, and then I realized he'd actually used it. So I assume it went through, making some assumptions here as always.
Not an issue. So Ben does still have, what, 2 potential disrupts in hand? Is that right? Or did he add the Marionetta off the Seek, in which case only the 1 disrupt in hand?
Yeah, potentially. Again, disadvantage of not being able to see those hands. We can't calculate everything.
Yeah, but would be a bit messed up if we could see the hands, because you know who else would be able to see the hands?
Yeah, I know. It's almost like I wish we had just like a little sneaky like commentary section where we could just see everything.
Just us,
that'd be nice.
You know, I always find it interesting that at the big competitive events like YCS level events, they do get hand information, but they track like on-field information, but they don't do it using any sort of like really crazy technology. It's not like they've got like a glass table with a camera under it or anything. It's just a pair of judges alongside the players keeping track of everything there.
Yeah, I mean, you see them on those streams, don't you? They lean over and show the judges next to them what they got in hand. I mean, I guess it's good because it keeps play as clean as possible.
Yeah, I think it's really good from the perspective of when you're watching. If you can see both players' hands, you can start making predictions about what's going to happen next, and you build up a lot of hype about the next few moves.
It can also be a little bit misleading, though, I find. Like, when I've watched streams, and for example, you'll see players go, no, they're such an idiot, why didn't they do this, and why didn't they do that? I mean, there's a multiple things to think about here. Obviously, there's the pressure of being on a stream. Does really affect some people, but also you have perfect knowledge as a viewer that the players don't necessarily have.
Yes.
But it does also mean that we get to see when players make less optimal plays that we know about, and we can go, oh man, they shouldn't have done that, or you know, or they make something that's like a crazy spicy play that they didn't even realize was as spicy as it is. So it does make things a little bit interesting.
Yeah, and it's always interesting that, you know, because they have to stop the crowds from being able to interact with the players properly, they do give the players the headsets and try to encourage them to avoid looking at the crowds, of course. It's not always possible though. There are always little bits that could, you know, hint at different plays that should have been made, and I always have a pet peeve about judges leaning over and reading cards on the table while players carrying on, just in case it triggers you know, a little bit of extra thought from the players. Which, yeah, thankfully online, our players cannot tell exactly what we're looking at unless we bring it up on stream, and even then we've got a bit of a delay between actual play anyway, so that helps out.
Tactical delay.
Tactical delay indeed. YouTube gives you that option actually. You can just add a delay to your stream, which is always nice.
It's quite interesting because it's not something that I guess necessarily you would think about immediately, but it's a really, really important thing to consider, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of, you know, random bits and pieces that we thought about on the way to figuring out exactly how we'd run all these events. And that's just one of the...
Angel Trumpeter?
Yeah, have you not seen this yet?
No, what?
Okay.
What is this?
Okay, so, Rock, as standard now, plays Unexpected Die, or, you know, yeah, typically semi-standard.
I did see that earlier and did wonder what the target would be.
Yeah, and so it'll either be Angel Trumpeter, or it'll be, I think it's Gamma the Magnet Warrior? I could be getting that wrong. One of the Magnet Warriors. And honestly,
Okay.
these are now, sorry, not Gamma, which one is it? Beta, is that right? Anyway, these are now standard cards to run. Yeah, it's beta. These are standard cards to run in your rock deck now, which is pretty interesting.
Well, I guess Trumpeter being a tuner as well.
Yeah,
That
the only
nice little
issue...
fringe benefit.
Yes, yeah, it's really good for going into your needle fiber. The only issue is, of course, as it's a tuner and it's not a rock, you can't exactly summon it off your Emancipator cards. But here we go. Gabe does take the win here due to a small mistake, or maybe a huge mistake, as Ben is saying, on his part. Unfortunately, he says he got really trigger happy with his disrupts. So Gabe takes victory here, and Ben loses out on this one. Should we see if we can pull on one of the other two from this matchup? Keep things going?
Yeah, let's see how they're going, for sure.
Okay, we'll be back in about a minute or two, and I'll reset the HUD live so that you guys can watch as much of the content as possible. So just bear with us for a minute or two, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so back again. That was a quick one. And we return with Luxury X Gabe Nation on the top, and Fun and Interactive on the bottom. I do need to just update the names of the players, but Joe is here again to help me out with that. How are you doing, Joe? You still good?
Yeah, we're still good. Fortunately, nothing happened in those few minutes that changed anything in my life. So we're still good.
Really? I was expecting like some groundbreaking news to happen.
You know what? After today, with some of the things that I've seen happen in such a short period of time, anything's possible. Anything can happen. Okay, so we are seeing another sort of top tier level of play going on again. Obviously, Hanny on the top there, and
wow.
Ollie on the bottom. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was... Wow. Red Reboot on the chain.
Red Reboot, the one of.
And that was the second game, so they're now tied. So Ollie loses game 2. I mean, I'm going to assume he's going first. I don't think he'd go second here.
Maybe he's got some crazy spice.
Crazy spice for going
Altergeist.
second. I'll be honest, that would be a lot of fun to see.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I mean, I don't...
No, interestingly. Sorry, go on.
No, you go, it's fine.
I was going to say, actually, there is a weird way that you can play Altergeist, which is something that I covered on that video that I did with my friend Adam, is that you can actually play like a combo variant of the deck when Pukari comes out. So it'll be interesting to see whether people adapt that or not, whether they continue with this kind of control variant that we normally see.
Do you think people are keen on switching to a combo variant of Altergeist?
I don't know. I think it's one of them things. There's always temptation, isn't there? There's something nice about comboing off and, you know, making your nuts a little bit bigger than they are. You know, just... But it's true, isn't it? There is a certain allure to playing a combo deck. So, you know, if you're someone that's always had your helmet strapped on and you want to play Altergeist, and the opportunity to go something a little bit more technical comes up, you might consider it.
Yeah, definitely. Always makes for that interesting content. People always want to watch some good combos.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're playing against Altergeist, you're definitely not expecting them to go like Halka Fibrax combo, right?
Yeah. Not just yet.
Not just yet.
Although
Halka Fibrax is finding its way into everything else, so it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. I mean, it's even in Eldritch, which is the other big combo deck of this... big control deck of this format. So
yeah, definitely one of my favorites, actually. I really, really like Eldritch.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's something about it, I think, because it's so diverse, and that when I look at it, there's not a single card that can be hit. And this is something I keep saying on a lot of my own videos when this comes up, is that I think Eldritch is here to stay for a little while, you know. because after this we've got. So even if you take Halka Fibrax out, which annihilates a lot of the other decks that are going on at the moment, Eldritch can play with Invoked. It can play with like Shadows and things like that. It can tie in all this other stuff. It can also play with Dragma. We can also see it played with zombies. Like there's so many different ways it can play.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So something was wrong with Hanny's hand. It must have been terrible. Or it just can't play through 4 back row. Wow. Oh, he didn't even show his hand. He just left.
Just left.
Oh, okay. Let's I'm gonna quickly reset the visuals. We can keep talking. And then let's see if the final match of these guys is being played or not. Maybe he just jumped out because it was finished.
Yeah, maybe.